Alright guys, such coming again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, quite the evening of CDL matches. OpTic somehow find a way to maintain their perfect record so far this stage, taking down G2 in one of the most remarkable series you are ever going to see. Clutching up, reverse sweeping against the G2 Minnesota. Did they bottle it? Did OpTic clutch up through Huke and through Mercules? Who else? And what other team needs to make a roster change right about now? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Couple of things on the roster stuff. We are, of course, going to get to Toronto in the coming minutes. Aroma on Toronto says, damn, this guy, you know, just slammed him in ranked and all this. But yeah, Kips could be an option to bring into Toronto. There has been a lot of talk about bringing him on as a substitute from Huntsman in recent days. It does feel like this is gathering traction because Zinni actually gave an update on the state of affairs at Huntsman and said, first day they trials and dimensions, then they're trialing Cal, and then they're going to do so again. So, yes, Renegade will stay. O'Johnny is now joining. Ruspy's still there. They're looking at a fourth. That fourth would be Kips if he doesn't go anywhere, but more than likely Toronto are going to pull the trigger on that. And at this rate, it might not just be on a bench spot any longer. They need a new Mercules, let's just put it that way. That's how things currently sit. Let's get into the games, because Gentlemates played Falcons. Again, strange day in many respects, because all of these first few series, I thought, you know, there's an upset potential here. Okay, the FaZe versus Toronto one, I kind of always felt like FaZe had that under control. But even this first series, right, Gentlemates, they just have a major win. Difficult to always keep that momentum, especially when this is true for Paris and definitely true for OpTic. They took a bit of time off playing the game, understandably. They've got so many weeks of online qualifiers upcoming. Birmingham's quite a while away. It's understandable that they want to take a little bit more time off maybe than others, just so they can, you know, get back in and lock in. OpTic certainly took longer off than others did in terms of scrims. Not sure what the state of affairs was with Paris, but they start out game one absolutely slamming, but that would swiftly change, and Falcons brought this one back for the map 1 win. So this is an impressive takeover from, well, especially Xnid actually towards the end of this map. There's been lots of talk about the Thunder from Down Under episode, Pred's involvement in that, some of the conversations that he was having with Xnid over the course of things seem to generate some positive vibes coming out of this match, because Sib had a difficult map 1, Xnid had a takeover towards the end of this game, and it was Falcons that take the 1-0 lead in the series. Again, the type of team that loves this type of map, right? This is why the frustration over the last few days was boiling over, in my opinion, when you had teams like the Falcons saying, oh no, Saki's a terrible map, we should never be playing that, it's all about Blackheart, it's all about Colossus. Like, yeah, Falcons are the type of team that likes those type of maps, right? When Kismet can run a sub and play aggressive and not deal with this somewhat confusing flex role that he still currently finds himself in, that is better for him. But put the Falcons on too many other maps, they're not going to be so comfortable all the time. And against Paris, obviously, they're not going to be the favourites anyway. They gave it a decent go, but game 2, Gentlemates got over the line. It was tied up at 1-1. Then at this point, you're expecting them at that point to probably take over the series, which is what they did. It was a very close fought affair on the overload. They went up 3-1. In the end, Falcons brought this back to a tie game. It went to a very interesting overtime. Again, I didn't like this massively when the game first came out. I was like, why are we playing overtime that goes down to live? Surely it should be like next cap wins. But there's actually a lot of mind games here. And on LAN, when we have seen these type of environments, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of tension that builds up, and it's unlike anything else that we really have. I mean, obviously a round 11 to an extent, but on round 11, you've got to do something, right? There's a bomb to be planted, whereas in this case, it can very often come down to the wire, and also the other team like knows where each other are, so it's not quite a search and destroy round in the traditional sense. And because it flows in from the rest of the map, there's interesting possibilities here. We saw it in this circumstance. Now, first of all, Pred versus Sib is a rivalry from when they were playing, of course, as teammates, and then when they split up, they've had a good rivalry. Pred's basically always had his number. but I'm pretty sure a few seconds after this, Pred gets caught out by Simp. So really, Pred throws away his life more than he should. He goes down first. Then it's a 4v3. It becomes a 2v2 in the end. So it was a pretty competitive overtime or sudden death, whatever you want to call it. But it was a very interesting play that Gentlemates made. It became a 2v2. Ghosty was standing on the ball over towards the kind of rooftop side, and Envoy was in mid. He had kind of all the rapport and all of the knowledge. Now, typically, you wouldn't choose to pick the ball up if you could avoid it, because then, you know, you're only got a pistol, right? But towards the end of a round, having the ball is actually good, because if you hold it at the end of the round, you win. So in the hypothetical here, where Celium kills Envoy, Ghosty can effectively just like run away and stay alive, and as long as he stays alive for the next 10 seconds, he wins the round and wins the game. So I thought it was interesting to see how Gentlemates approached this. I wonder how much teams have discussed this type of scenario, but they picked up the ball in a 2v2. Ghosty wrapped it fully. That kind of baited one of the Falcons guys who was left, Exnid or Kiz, over towards where Ghosty was running the ball. Envoy picked him up for free, and then Ghosty wrapped it back the other way. So it was all kind of intricate, really. And I thought it was quite nice to see that philosophy. Pred, it seemed, had lost full at this point. He had an absolutely disastrous final map. They got slammed on the Scar. So, yeah, once Gentlemates warmed up, it was over for the competition. Falcons go down. But those guys, you know, obviously the Gentlemates were the champions of Major 1. Ghosty drops a 1.3. Again, talk about Thieves and all that. But we've got to talk about this OpTic series, because this was especially fascinating. Mercules was not a happy man after game 1, and I don't blame him. OpTic lose the game 1. Formal was like, oh my god, like, you know, we can't be checking this guy out. This guy's the savior. G2, it doesn't matter who they play. If it's an online match, it will go to 5. It's been this way since the inception of the Minnesota Rocker back in Modern Warfare 19. It ain't changing anytime soon. So, look, OpTic went down 2-0 this series. You know, if you're an OpTic fan, you don't be too concerned about that. It's Rocker. You're going game 5. And of course, it happened again here. And yeah, did OpTic play great for the first couple of maps? No. Are these effectively glorified scrims to a certain extent? Yes, but also, this was a gritty series, right? Like, G2 are gritty, Rocker are gritty, they will go 5. But OpTic know how to do it as well, and I think that OpTic fans have just got to be so happy picking up this Mercules kid, because this is a series that pre-Mercules, they lose so, like, 100 times out of 100, pretty much. Like, they would always lose the series, really. Just the way that it went. We've seen these series in years past. But OpTic, they dug deep, you know, it's impressive. I don't know what Shotzzy's doing online. He must be playing on Kenny's old PC or something, because, like, I don't know. We'll wait for LAN. Shotzzy will be back on LAN, but this cat is, don't know what he's doing online a lot of the time. He had a tough series again today. Even this moment, right? I don't know why he doesn't check the corner. He just runs out and dies. All good. I'll see you in Birmingham, I guess. But an OpTic, you know, they're 2-0 now. They should be fine in terms of their run, qualifying for winners bracket and all that type of stuff. But OpTic go down 5-0 in the game 2. They lost the game 1. They're down 5-0 in the game 2. All of a sudden, they start getting some kills. They bring the game back. They eventually lose it 6-4. They were very, very close to pulling off a full sell. This was an interesting moment because a lot of criticism, and understandably, I think about Huke's search and destroyed performances recently. They've not been good this whole season. He finds himself in a 1v2, gets the first one. Mercules just died up top here. Like, they knew 1,000,000% that the last guy was up top. Presumably, they called it out. But Huke, I mean, maybe they called it out wrong and Huke was looking in the wrong place. I don't know, but he was obviously up there on the balcony. Huke doesn't look at it, isn't ready for it, dies. And that was a bit of a confusing one, to be honest. Again, it was like, Huke's decision-making in these search and destroys. Again, not like it was entirely his fault they were in that scenario. They were down 5-0. They did quite well to bring it back. But Huke came to play in the game 3. And it's one of the first, like, real major takeovers we've seen from Huke so far this season. I think we're expecting big things out of him on this game, and for understandable reasons. And, well, in this map, he certainly delivered. I mean, even from the start of this game, he popped this nice little 3-piece as a big takeover, and then went on to absolutely fry for the next 3 or 4 minutes, was near enough double positive. OpTic scored a couple of caps. They get the job done. All of a sudden, the momentum is back in their favour. Now, the observers decided to go on strike for the start of the game 4. Eventually, we got there. And this was all about Mercules, really, getting the job done. Formal and Nate were mind-blown that this kid somehow just delivers, you know, the legacy savior, the human anti-cheat, God, whatever you want to call him. He's got a few nicknames anyway. This is another one where Mercules, I mean, it was in the preceding moments here. We actually weren't on board with him, but Merc somehow gets 1, 2, 3 in the feed to keep OpTic alive in this map. They go on to win the map, they take it to 5, and they're one of the craziest game 5s you're probably ever going to see. This was around where Mercules actually lost. So Mumba is over towards A. Mercules sees him. Mumba realizes he has just enough time to get to B and plant. Merc was not expecting that. Merc runs out mid into, you know, the mid courtyard above open stairs, is looking over towards A while Mumba's planting the bomb. But Mumba then decides to reposition on the bomb. But by the time he repositions, he now realizes he's only got 4.8 seconds left and he can't plant it anymore. So now he's got to chase the kill. Mercules was fine. He'd made a good play with probably the thought in the back of his head that, okay, well, if he is planting B, then, you know, I've got enough time to go turn around and go get him. And Merc was just about to check and kill the guy, but because Mumba actually hopped off it because he made his own mistake, he then was chasing the kill, finds Mercules and kills him with about half a second on the clock. So it looks like all the luck it looked like was going the way of G2 here. But OpTic then start to bring it back. Dashy won a big round with the pistol, again with a big gunfight at open stairs. I will say, yeah, raid search might not be quite what it used to be, but still, watching a raid search and destroy map 5, there's something about that which is just absolutely fantastic. Even, what, near enough 15 years on from when the game or this map first came out. It's still tough to beat a raid search map 5. I do think we need Meltdown in, because Meltdown search map 5, that arguably, especially on LAN, could well be even tastier. It goes round 11, and I don't even know how it got to round 11, to be honest. It was just some crazy rounds. OpTic were very, very consistent, as you can see by the kills to deaths. Skies finds himself in a 1 versus 2. He gave it a good go, but OpTic just played the 1v2 very nicely. It was Huke and Dashy last alive. Huke, I think, gets the final kill. G2 understandably were absolutely furious because it's like, I don't know how they really found a way to lose that series, but they did. OpTic put off a remarkable reverse sweep. One of the craziest series you're going to see ever, certainly online. But it's just impressive that OpTic are winning these type of series, right? As I say, G2, they're still impressive. They're still looking pretty good. You know, they could easily have won this series and walked away with the dub. Very arguably, they should have been. Shotzzy was in the 0.7s, but it was Huke and Mercules today. They were the takeover men. Kremp had a good series on the other side as well. 6-5 game 5, just like, I mean, it was a 5-3 curse as well. Just a ridiculous final map of the series, especially. So many crazy things happened. But as I say, it's just one of those series that OpTic of years past, they would just have lost this series. But now they are finding ways to win it, and it makes their life so much easier, right? Like for OpTic, they're now 2-0. They should be looking good over the coming weeks to make sure they get their solid winners bracket seed for the major. So no stress, right? It's like, that's where they want to be, and they can keep learning and improving from these games. This, however, is a team that is probably past learning and improving. It's time to drop the nuclear detonation. FaZe slam Toronto. Again, ReeaL has been catching some flack, and unfortunately there were another 2 critical moments in this series where, I mean, the eyes were all on him as things just went badly wrong. Formal was kind of mind-blown here, so ReeaL is already 9-15. He gets into this gunfight. Here we are on Blackheart against FaZe. FaZe usually always bounce back from a difficult series, but I don't know what he's doing here. But he's in this gunfight against 04, and he just waltzes straight off the map and dies. Not ideal. Then they lost the search as well. It wasn't even close. They got slammed here. And then we had this moment in the overload. And I kind of feel a little bad for ReeaL here because he did get caught with some bad timing. But still, I know that they'll be watching this back in the VOD room and JoeDeceives will be like, it's, you know, it's inexcusable. But basically, 6 is last alive by the overload device. 04 just picks it up. And I know that ReeaL wasn't expecting there to probably be another man there. But to be fair, he's got a teammate in Abuzah not far behind him here. So ReeaL should be aware of the possibility, but 04 just picks up the ball and just runs it straight through for the capture. If ReeaL just stays where he is, or if he chows the ball, he probably kills 04, at least gives them a chance, but effectively the play that ReeaL made gave up a free cap, and it did turn out to be a pretty close game. Simp was shooting bodies shortly after that as well. But Toronto get 3-0'd. I'll just hit the refresh on this again. They've won something like 6 maps in their last 7 series. You know, it's bad, and it's not getting any better. JoeDeceives looks pretty checked out. ReeaL dropped a bit of a rage after the series was over as well. There was talk about swapping roles between CleanX and ReeaL. It's probably far gone. It's probably too far gone to consider that at this point. So, yeah, if you're Toronto, what do you do? We'll certainly talk about it over the coming days. Thieves versus Surge we'll talk about tomorrow morning as well. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.